8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 1, and liftoff.
Vehicle is pitching downrange.
Stage 1 propulsion is nominal.
You are watching Falcon 9 accelerate spaceflight's Sherpa LTC-2 and our Starlink satellites out into space.
Falcon 9 is supersonic.
And great call out so far. Supersonic means that the vehicle is traveling faster than the speed of sound.
Max Q.
And we have now passed through max Q, or the maximum dynamic pressure that the vehicle will see on ascent. Now we're just about a minute away from several events happening back to back. That is main engine cutoff, or MECO, stage separation, and SES-1, or second stage.
Engine chill has started.
Second stage engine start 1. And that will be followed shortly by the fairing deploy. Again, that is MECO stage separation and SES-1, followed by fairing deploy, coming up in just about 20 seconds or so from now. MECO is where all 9 of the M1D engines that you're seeing on your screen shut down in preparation for stage separation. Once the vehicles separate, the first stage will make its way to attempt to land on Just Read the Instructions tonight, as the second stage continues on its journey with SES-1 igniting the second stage engine.
Main engine cutoff. Stage separation confirmed. MVAC ignition.
There we heard MECO. We saw stage separation on your right-hand screen. You could see the MVAC engine igniting on the second stage. On your left-hand screen is a view of the first stage as the grid fins begin to deploy.
Fairing separation confirmed.
And there you can see on your right-hand screen that the fairing has deployed. Today marks the 4th flight for one fairing half and the 5th flight for the other fairing half. And we will attempt to recover the fairing halves again to reuse them on a future launch.
Both vehicles are following nominal trajectories.
And always great callouts. Both first and second stage are following nominal trajectories.
Stage 1 landing burn.
There you can see on your screen the landing burn has begun for Falcon 9.
Landing leg deploy.
And really awesome views of the first stage landing. This marks the 140th overall landing of an orbital class rocket and the 40th launch and landing of 2022.
Minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, ignition, and lift off of Falcon 9. Go Blue Walker 3, go Starlink.
Vehicle is pitching downrange.
Stage 1 propulsion is nominal.
What you are seeing on your screen is Falcon 9 accelerating AST Space Mobile's Blue Walker 3 and our Starlink satellites into space. This is a record 14th flight for this first stage booster. And we are coming up on
Falcon 9 is supersonic.
We're coming up on max Q. Now we are just about a minute.
Engine chill has started.
We're just about a minute away from a few events happening rapidly, back to back. That will be MECO, or main engine cutoff, followed by stage separation, SES-1, and fairing deploy. And you're seeing a cool view from the first stage, looking aft to the M1D engines on the vehicle. And MECO will be where all 9 of those M1D engines shut down. That helps slow the vehicle down as it separates from the second stage. And then SES-1 is second stage engine start 1, and that's where the MVAC engine will ignite, and then shortly followed by the fairing deploy.
Main engine cutoff. MVAC ignition.
There we had MECO stage separation. On your right-hand screen, you could see the MVAC engine igniting.
Fairing separation confirmed.
And we
Both
heard
vehicles are on nominal trajectories.
a confirmation of fairing deploy. That marks the 5th flight for one of the fairing halves and the 4th flight for the other fairing half, and we will attempt to recover both fairing halves again to use on a future launch.
Stage 1 landing burn.
And there you can see that single engine lighting up your left-hand screen as Falcon 9 attempts to land on our drone ship, a shortfall of gravitas.
Landing leg deploy. Stage 1 landing confirmed.
And great news, Falcon 9 has
MVAC
landed.
shutdown.
This is a record-breaking 14th landing for this booster. An awesome view there on your screen. This is the 141st landing of an orbital class rocket, including
Nominal
Falcon
parking
9.
orbit insertion.
That includes Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy missions. And we just heard confirmation of good orbit as well on the second stage.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, ignition, and liftoff of Starlink 4-34. Go Falcon 9.
Stage 1 chamber pressure.
And we've had a successful liftoff of Falcon 9 from Space Launch Complex 40. at Cape Canaveral, Florida. Beautiful night here at the
Falcon
White
power
Space
and
Coast.
telemetry is nominal.
XQ.
Vehicles pass through max Q, which is the point of maximum dynamic pressure on the rocket. We are about 1 minute to main engine cutoff, stage
Start
separation,
event back chill.
and second engine startup. Keep an eye out for these events happening in quick succession. Main engine cutoff is where we will shut down all 9 engines on the Falcon 9's first stage. Beautiful clear night out here on the west coast, on the east coast.
Eco.
Stage separation confirmed.
And back startup.
Fairing separation confirmed.
And there we had main engine cutoff 1, stage separation, and second engine startup 1, followed by fairing deploy. Today marks the 3rd flight for one of these fairing halves and the 4th flight of another. We will attempt to recover both of the fairing halves again to use on a future launch.
Stage 1 landing burn.
Stage 1 has lit its one engine to prepare for our landing on drone ship. Just read the instructions.
Stage 1 landing leg deploy. Eco. Stage 1 landing confirmed.
Falcon 9 has landed, marking the 135th
Nominal
landing
orbit insertion.
of a Falcon 9 first stage and the 42nd launch of 2022. As you may have heard, shortly after
Signal. Cape.
landing burn start, we had a successful engine cutoff. Stage 2 is now carrying its 54 Starlink satellites into low Earth orbit. And we also had a confirmation of good orbit. With confirmation of the first stage landing
Acquisition of signal, Newfoundland.
and successful engine cutoff, we'll wrap up today's launch coverage. If you're interested in following along, we have our nets live on YouTube, and be sure to check SpaceX social media for confirmation of Starlink deploy.
Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition and liftoff of Starlink 435. Go Falcon 9.
Pitching downrange.
Stage 1 chamber pressures are nominal.
And with that successful liftoff of our Starlink satellites on our Falcon 9 vehicle,
Power and telemetry nominal.
from Space Launch Complex 40, lifting off at 7:32 p.m. Eastern Time.
Falcon 9 is supersonic.
So with that call, we have Falcon 9 now traveling faster than the speed of sound. Seeing a great shot of the engines on the first stage. And that call out there indicating we are through the point of maximum aerodynamic pressure, the highest stresses that the vehicle will feel during ascent. Now coming up in about a minute, we'll have 3 events happening back to back. The first of those is main engine cutoff, where we'll shut down all 9 of the Merlin 1D engines on the first stage, followed by stage separation, and then second engine start on the second stage. And a great view of the first stage there. Now we're looking up at the second stage.
And Miko. Stage separation. Invac ignition.
Fantastic. So main engine cutoff, stage separation, and Merlin
Separation
vacuum
confirmed.
start. And there was fairing deploy as well. You can see those fairing halves on the left-hand side of your screen, as well as the grid fins on the first stage deploying. Now we will be attempting to recover both of those fairing halves. Both of them are for their 5th and 4th flights. We just had a glimpse there of the sun reflecting off those fairing halves. There you can see the fairing halves reflecting some sunlight as we're heading up to orbit. Left-hand dot is the engine on the Merlin vacuum. I believe the middle object is our first stage, and then the fairing halves around it.
Stage 1 landing burn.
Startup of just a single Merlin vacuum engine. We'll see landing leg deploy as well shortly. And also keep an ear out here for second stage engine
Stage
cutoff.
1 landing leg deploy. Pico. Stage 1 landing confirmed.
So with those 2 callouts and a great shot from the drone ship, we've got confirmation of our second stage in the nominal orbit. And our first stage, Falcon 9, has landed, marking the 143rd landing of an orbital class rocket. This marks our 43rd launch of 2022.